Yo, there is a mid patch for Arena, and let's review it really quick. So, Cassiopeia gets nerfed by a 50% and her healing is also reduced by 4% later on. So what does that mean? She will be less healthy later on and her DPS gonna be lower. The reasoning behind that, we all know what does a Twitch Singed or Teemo Cassiopeia do, or arguably a tank for Cassiopeia like a Alistar with Ziggs, of course. Kai'Sa, again, she's quite strong, so apparently they got the on-hit damage by 50%, so Guinsoo's Kai'Sa might not be worth. You may still be able to go AP, because it says that passive 5th stack damage, right? Hey, the HP based damage will be reduced by 5%, but the AP ratio will be pretty much the same, which means that her early game will be significantly weaker. Later on, she'll still may scale, but on hit Kai'Sa is not too worth right now. Either go AD or full AP, but I don't think so. Like going so Kai'Sa makes it after these nerfs. Kog'Maw again, reasonable nerf. Um, it's like 1% of a nerf, right? But that does quite a lot because he basic attacks so frequently, which means that his early game is significantly nerfed, same as his late game. Kindred, same thing actually, just they are reducing the flat damage of her W, right? And they didn't really reduce too much the percentage damage except by a 0.5 percentage, and per mark she gets 0.5 percentage as well, which means that she's gonna deal less HP based on less flat damage. Her E also deals significantly less damage by 3 percentage, which means she will be worse into tanks, generally way weaker than she was before. Taric, again, reasonable nerfs. This champion is very annoying. Q base healing per stack is 15 and not 20. Q healing AP ratio is significantly less by 3%. Q healing HP ratio also got reduced by 0.25%. E ability haste modifier is not minus 30 but minus 50, which means those E's are less so frequent. And finally, his ult also got nerfed by 0. From 2.5 seconds to 1.75, right? Which is quite a lot if you ask me, at 0.75 seconds, which means he will be way less tank, he's gonna have less DPS due to his inner, so I think the champion is kind of worthless right now, from my own opinion, especially like Taric combinations, because the champion is very weak early on, then his scaling is way worse. We'll see, but I think he won't make it. Uh, Twitch, again, reasonable nerf, but that's a bit a lot. He got 30 less AD from his AD, that's a lot. Oh, I mean, he got also 5% nerf in the past. This is a lot, but I would say it's reasonable because even after the 5% nerf, which was so viable, and he kept wiping people from such a far distance that a lot of comps couldn't do much into him, so this will affect his mid and level 6, right? When he's level 6 and his mid game mainly, which means that he will be a bit weaker as well with IE because IE values as much AD as possible. Vayne, again, reasonable nerf. He gets nerfed by a 50%, which is fine. I think Vayne will be still probably viable. She's just gonna be slightly worse than she was, but oh, but apparently she also receives a double nerf. Holy shit! So 2% early on, right? And later on, 4. That's a bit too big from my own honest opinion. What does it even mean? She will be way worse in general, DPS wise, and especially into tanks. Moonstone again gets nerfed, which generally got builded on Taric. Both the shield and the healing value gonna be less. Minor reclusive chain healing has been removed. Okay. Redemption healing is also significantly less. Augment Preservance bug fix the bug where Preservance would increase all HP regeneration and not just base HP. Yeah, that's what happened on me on Mundo when I got like 2k healing per second. That was a bit broken. And another arena buffs in here. So Naafiri gets an arena balance update. So his movement speed is less by 5%. Q bleed. So his Q bleed does actually less damage by 20, right? Later on, also the minion damage gonna be less by 10%. E pass-through damage gonna be a bit less, same as the AD ratio. Explosion damage gonna be less by 10% plus 820. R bonus damage gonna be again less by a teensy bit 5 up to like 5, and in the later levels by 5. then the AD scaling gonna be a little bit less as well, which means you're gonna have in general less DPS, right? Now, Arena buffs. Looks passive damage ratio gonna be higher because she wasn't too great of a champion, same as Zoe, so this will may make them a bit more viable. Baseline critical strike damage will be higher by 15%, which means that champions that do actually build IE gonna get a lot of value out of this, especially champs like Draven, right? Dashing augment ability haste from movement abilities is 200 ability haste right now for movement abilities, which I guess is kind of nice on Riven, but on Riven usually people take something else. But this is nice to have, I assume, on champions that have constant dashes like Fizz, right? You name it. So this is definitely a significant change for champions that do have a lot of dashes, preferably. Because if you only have one, that's usually not too worth, unless you don't have better options. Any Orcas damage is reduced because you all know what Annie does in the arena, same as 30 bursts, his AP ratio is lower and Annie's T burst does less AD damage. I mean, I think on hit damage, not AD damage. Anyhow, why our I mean, Annie was really strong, let's be real. Heimerdinger was strong, so again, reasonable nerf. He will be definitely weaker into those type of melee champs that he gets really, he just really stomps them, right? And Heimerdinger R to red damage is also reduced. 5% damage that stacks with the above nerfs, okay? So he also gets a 5% and his towers do significantly less, which means for melee champions it's a bit more playable into him. Range ones don't really care too much about the towers because usually they wipe them anyways. Alawi healing is a bit less because we all know what happens when Alawi faces two melee champions. Funny things gonna happen. 5% damage nerf on her Q, of course. And the damage transfer value gonna be less by 10%. Alawi is still probably playable. She's a bit more balanced. She also takes a little more damage, right? Kayn takes a bit more damage and also like deals a little bit less damage. Shaco Q ability haste, fear, gonna be less. Taric passive damage 25 to 93, so Taric is nerfed, of course. Taric bonus armor, Guinsoo's Rage Blade does less, right? And this is like the just like basically like the real Summoner Rift patch. So I reviewed like both of these patches. What can I even say? Both mid patch and the current patch. So I mean these changes will definitely like ruin some champions like Taric. Finally, like Taric does not have to be permabanned possibly, and that's how I see it. So finally, like Arena is more playable for people that don't meta abuse, because meta abusers sort of ruin it, and you have to meta abuse it as well or counter the meta abuse, because otherwise often you won't have fun, right? So nerfing these things makes tanks significantly more useful, because anti-tanks often just like make them feel so useless, right? So that's like insane. Like the Vayne nerf is insane, right? I think these are good quality changes because those champions, all of them are very annoying and OP.